I have a collection of coffee grounds happening in my house, and I know that I also have my old brooding box from the baby chicks just sitting waiting to be disposed of. And I thought, what better way to use them than to make a compost bin that's super cheap with just things that I have laying around. So I've got my old brooding box right here, and I've already taken the liberty of taking out the wood shavings because we don't want them at the bottom. So what I'm going to do first is put some holes into the box at the top and at the bottom so that there's some drainage. All right, holes are all drilled in, and this is ready to be filled up with lots of carbon materials and lots of nitrogen-rich materials. So I'll explain more about that as I fill it up. So think about it this way. Carbon is your browns, nitrogen is your greens. So any material that is brown, like sticks, wood shavings, leaves, but most of your brown things, most of your mainly natural things, even things like cardboard, are things that you want to consider as carbon. So you need to make sure that you've got plenty of it. And every time you're adding your food scraps, that's actually your nitrogen. So nitrogen are your greens, it's anything that is still living, it's plants. And if you've got chickens like us, then it's also their manure. And we've got plenty of nitrogen, I tell you that. So to have a really healthy compost, you want it to be 50% carbon and 50% nitrogen. You also want it to have plenty of warmth because this is going to help break it down. And it's up to you whether you aerate it, which means you give it a shake, or you mix it to get lots of air into it and encourage good bacteria to break it down faster, or if you want it to be anaerobic, which means that you're kind of leaving it be, you're taking as much of the oxygen out as you can and then letting it break down that way. You can see that I'm breaking down the pieces that I'm putting in. This is the same for your food, for your carbon, for anything you put into your compost. The smaller it is, the easier it's going to be for all the beneficial bugs and the bacteria that are going to be in there to break it down for you. And if they're going to break it down faster, that means compost will be ready sooner. All right, so next in, I'm gonna go in with my wood shavings. Plenty of those. My coffee grounds, I'm just going to break up on top. We go through coffee grounds so quickly. We love our coffee. Next up, I'm just going to take some soil from my garden and put it in there. And that's going to encourage it to start turning into soil, I guess. Because the soil is already developed compost. I mean, it already has the balance and the nutrients and the texture, and that's where we want our compost to end up. And if you get some worms, bonus. I actually did see some really big worms. I think I'm going to put them in here. Are they just over here? Where are they? Oh, there they are. There's that one. Oh, he's big. Yes. There you go, bud. All right, and the final ingredient for your compost is going to be all your food scraps. And I highly suggest getting a bucket or a container to keep in your kitchen so that every time you make food scraps, when you're making a soup, when you're making a stir fry, any food waste that you have, any scraps like your peelings and eggshells even, crush it up, cut it up as small as you can, because remember, the smaller it is, the faster it's going to break down. Keep it on your counter and then take it out once a week when you water the garden or when you go outside for a walk. Pop it in there, give it a bit of a shake, a bit of a mix if you want to aerate it, and that will also help to break it down faster. Keep it wet, keep it warm, and it's going to turn into compost soon enough. One really important thing with keeping your compost healthy is try to avoid meat, poo from your animals like cats and dogs. Oil is also not great for compost bins, and trying to limit citrus as well. Citrus is really high pH. That means it's very acidic. When you eat it, it makes you squirm, especially if it's a lemon. So think about your soil being that acidic. It's not going to be great for your plants. If your compost is aerated and it gets really, really warm in there, usually can break things down quite easily, and then things like poo and meat and bones and citrus are easier to compost. You can put things like grass clippings in as well, so if you're clearing out your garden, chuck it all in there. My garden's very spiky, so I don't really want to be pulling things out with my hands. And then give it a shake and find a safe spot.